Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Ivana Katz, how are you today?
What does that mean? I've heard that word mentioned so many times, especially when John was at school, and I never knew what it meant.
Just means how wonderful are you today? There you go.
Oh, okay. I'm
Everything's
great.
everything's super, isn't it? Everything's super.
Yeah. How exciting is it that all our borders are opening up in Australia? Like,
Is
I
it?
was so
Yeah.
excited to hear that this morning.
There you go. People can travel. For all those people in lockdown around the world, we're very sorry to hear your plight, but Australians are now allowed to travel around the country until the
Yeah.
next outburst of COVID-19, and then they'll be all locked
No,
down
don't
again.
even say that. Don't put it out there.
I tell you what,
No, we're very lucky.
when you live on a boat, Ivana, there are no borders, there are no lockdowns. Life goes on as normal.
So, how would it work if you were to travel between states while they were like, were you able to travel?
No,
Would
there's
they?
a water police out stopping everybody from going across the border. Yeah, a few
Ah,
people tried that to
okay.
come up here from Melbourne, and they got cut off at the border.
Oh, really? Okay, fair
Yeah,
enough. You'd be seen as a pirate, I guess.
pirate. Yeah, being seen as a lot worse than a pirate, so I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
You
So
know,
have you?
they
Yep.
were saying that there were 19 flights from Sydney to Queensland this morning, like today, and that's so exciting because I've got a friend who's a flight attendant, and she's obviously lost her job temporarily, and so I'm hoping that with all of this, she'll be able to go back to work soon.
Yeah,
So
brilliant. Let's hope everybody can bounce back. And also, building a new website. That's what it's all about. That's the new trendy thing that's happening around the world, isn't it, Ivana? Thanks to you. People are building
yeah.
websites faster than they ever have before.
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, for me, I guess I'm so glad I chose this profession, especially at the moment.
I bet, I bet. Now, we're running into the last few episodes of this series. It's been an absolute delight to do this with you. It's been a lot of fun, and we've also changed people's lives. We've got a lady travelling around Europe in her mobile home at the moment who's building a website, listening to you as she goes. And I've asked her to send us her website when she's finished so we can actually have a look at it, even though we'll probably be finished the series by then.
That's all right. We can. I'll be around. I've been around for 18 years, and I'm not going
You're
anywhere.
not
So
going anywhere. Well, I thought I'd jump in on that experience today because normally at this stage of the show we talk about reviewing a website that's been sent to us, and unless you've organised something without me knowing about it, we haven't got one today, have we?
no, and I think today it's on purpose because we've got quite a lot of things that I wanted to cover, and if when we're doing a review, that seems to add quite a bit of time. So I think the last two episodes, there's no reviews, but if there's anybody out there who still needs help, please don't hesitate to reach out, and I'm always happy to chat.
Okay, good. And believe me, folks, Ivana is happy to chat, so you can call her any time you want, and she's happy to talk to you about websites. Fantastic. Okay, let's get into the show, Ivana. And today we're talking about...
Today we're talking about tools and apps that save you time and money. And I just wanted to touch the last time on the what we talked about last time, in case people have missed it, and that was how to monetize your website. So we looked at different things like affiliate programs, e-commerce platforms. We talked about having ads on your website and also doing online training, either one-on-one or setting up course and membership portals. So if you've missed that episode and that's something that you wanting to learn, then go to episode number 14.
Brilliant. Okay, on to today's show.
On to today.
And
Okay.
we're going to talk about all of these things.
Yeah. And so look, I mean, as a small business owner, there are so many things that you have to take care of. And you and I talked about this before we got onto the program, about how many things that when you're starting a business, how many different hats you actually have to wear. And so I have one thing I have discovered: if there's anything that I need to do new, something that I didn't know how to do before, there's always an app or software that will make my life easier. So I usually, before I start looking for people to help me do something, I will generally jump online and see if I can find something that's going to make my life easier. And so today I wanted to share some of the best tools that I've discovered. Obviously, this is just a small sort of small number of tools that I've discovered that I have used in my business. But depending on what you're doing and what your business is, I can guarantee you 99% there's going to be a tool that's going to make your life easier. So the first one, and this was a life changer for me, and that is a password manager software. Now, as you can imagine, I have thousands of passwords for all of my clients, whether it be their hosting, their domain name, their PayPal details. I've got everybody's passwords. And I used to spend hours and hours looking up passwords. I used to keep them all in an Excel spreadsheet, and I used to waste a lot of money. And then one day, I don't even know how I came across it, I discovered a password manager. And the one that I came across was called LastPass. And what that does, it remembers all your usernames and all your passwords. So the only thing you ever have to remember is your master password. And that's it. And then you can just log in, or if I'm wanting to log into my PayPal account, it automatically remembers my username and password, provided I'm signed in and I'm online, and it will just log me in. So any website that I go to, if I've got membership there, or any of my clients' websites, I'll just type in and it will automatically log me in. And it's not only for the convenience, but also for the security. Because what happens is a lot of people have their passwords on their computers. So people can, if your computer gets hacked or you get a virus or something like that can wipe you out very quickly. The other thing, because people often think that they have to remember their password, they make them quite insecure. So, you might have password 123 as your password, or you might have your child's name and their date of birth, which is, again, very common. So those passwords are not secure, and they're often used on different platforms. So if I crack, or if I know what your password is for PayPal, chances are that your password is going to be the same for everything else. So from a hackers and spammers perspective, this is not it's a good thing for them. It's not good for you, because they can often, crack it. There's actually a really interesting tool that I discovered in my travels, and that can tell you how long it would take for somebody to crack your password. So let's say you have put in, let's say your bank password is your child's name and their date of birth. If you actually enter that into this tool, it will tell you it's going to take them 30 seconds. Because I know, right? And the same thing. So the more characters and the more unusual uppercase, lowercase numbers, and the more unusual the character sequence, the more secure it is. For some, it might be 10 years. But what happens with hackers is they've got these tools. They're not sitting there manually typing them, but they run through thousands and thousands of different combinations within a very short time. I can't remember exactly what, I think it's called something like "How secure is my password?" If you Google that and you enter one of your passwords in, maybe just
you'll get a fright.
Instead of yeah, no, seriously, I'm a little bit cautious, and I'd say, let's say your password is, your daughter's name might be Jenny 2011 or something. Put in maybe Mark 2011 and just see how quickly it will come back with how insecure your password is. So I would highly encourage you not only to save your time, but also for the security of all your passwords, is that you get yourself a password manager. And there are 3 that are most popular: LastPass, 1Password, or Dashlane.
Are they available across all devices? So you can have it on your desktop, you can have it on your laptop, you can have it on your mobile?
They're all online. They're online based. So
Right.
yes, they are.
Right.
If you don't have access to the internet, I know with LastPass you can actually have access to it offline as well. And the good thing is you can have it on. They're all well, they're free, but they also have an upgrade version. So I think if I wanted to have it on my mobile phone as well, I think there's a small annual fee that you have to pay. But this is money definitely worth spending because you will save yourself time and a lot of headaches potentially.
I've always wondered:
Um,
is there a limit to how many characters you can have in your password? Do you know?
I don't know. I've never tried it.
Because I would be someone that would try and have like 102 characters in my password and just see whether they can crack that.
Well, give it a go and report in next time. I see how you go.
Next time might be the end of next year by the time I've remembered my password.
Yeah. Yeah, but the longer the password, the better. The harder it is to crack.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you about today's subject was, with all due respect, you've been around for a long time doing this website development stuff. Has the increase, and I guess when you first started there wasn't any apps around, is that right?
Yeah, this is when we used to ride in carriages and there was no internet, which is something Jordan would say. Sorry, what was the question again?
So when you talk about apps has made life easier when it comes to a lot of these things you can do today. In the early days of website development, there were no apps, right?
No, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, you got excited by the fact that you could actually send email and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, especially in the last 5 years, like there literally is apps for everything.
So if you were comparing a website today versus 20 years ago, is it light and day in terms of the features that a website can have today versus 20 years ago?
You know what? The funny thing is features and functionality, yes, it was a lot harder to maybe build an e-commerce website. But in terms of what people respond to these days is simplicity. Like back when we started building websites in 1825, there was a lot of information. We were trying to pack everything in, and and these days, like you look at Google, they're the perfect example. What does Google website look like? Their logo and a search bar. That's it. I mean, and you think about it, it is actually a website. It's a search engine, but it's a website. It doesn't get simpler than that. So the simpler the website, the better it is these days, because we are so overwhelmed by information that we just want simplicity. So,
Okay,
and
good.
videos and images are much more important now than they were before. So
People can't read anymore. Yeah.
we can't be bothered.
Can't be bothered, yeah. Okay, so password manager, good one.
Password manager. Okay, so the next one is mailing software. So this is not email software as such, not things like Outlook, but automated email software, things like MailChimp that many people have heard of, or the one that I really loved and I used for about 15 years called GetResponse, Active Campaign, Constant Contact. There's a whole lot of them. And this makes your life so much easier by having people subscribe to either a newsletter or the information, and you can then automatically follow up with people. Initially, it takes a little while to set up all your messages, your autoresponders, and your email nurtures. But once it's set up, it's done, and it does the work for you. And so you can have people, and we've talked about this, I think several times, that it takes anywhere between 9 to 14 touch points for people to get to know you, like you, and trust you. And so one way to do that is if you stay in touch with them and just provide them with really good information. Like, don't try to sell people. Give them good information and provide them with solutions, and just stay in contact with them regularly by email. And even though I said, for people to subscribe to newsletter, these days nobody subscribes to newsletters anymore. It's getting harder and harder to get people's emails, addresses. So one way to do that is to provide them something that they're going to perceive of value. So if you sell products, maybe a discount. I see a lot of actually stores when I go to buy products in a store, they will offer me 20% discount if I give them my email address. And the same thing is online. You can do that, offer them discount on the next purchase if they give you your email address, or provide a good downloadable report or a quiz or something that they're going to get, and then they'll be happy to leave their email address. And make sure that you stay in touch with them regularly, because if you don't, your mailing list becomes obsolete, and then you can start getting, if you collected somebody's email and they haven't heard from you for 6 or 12 months, and suddenly you start emailing them, they're more likely to report you as a spammer, and your email account can get shut down. So as soon as somebody subscribes, make sure you send them a welcome email, and then just stay in touch with them, I would say at least weekly. And just send them good information.
Yeah.
And then when they're ready to buy, you'll be on top of their mind.
Good point.
So that email software is really good and can save you a lot of time. Now, the next one is search engine optimization software. And next week, in our last episode, we're going to be talking about search engine. So I'm going to go into a lot more detail then. But if you want to optimize your website to rank well in search engines, it's a difficult task, but there are great tools. And one of the ones that I've discovered recently, and which I absolutely love, is called Uber Suggest. So like in Uber Eats, Uber deliveries, is Uber Suggest, and it's by a guy called Neil Patel. And this guy is a smart cookie. He has got a lot of really good information, free information about search engine optimization, and he's put together this tool, and it allows you to look at keywords that people are looking, and it gives you a lot of really good stats about your website, about your competitor's website. It looks at maybe errors that you have on your website, and it's definitely a tool worth checking out. They have a free version, although I've noticed recently they have really tightened it up so that you only get very little in the free version, but their paid version, it gives you a great amount of information. If you are wanting to optimize your website for search engine and you are using WordPress, there's a couple of plugins, one called Yoast, Y-O-A-S-T, or all-in-one SEO, and that allows you to put in all the right keywords and descriptions kind of that go behind the scenes. So check them out. They also have lots of really, really good training.
When I first came across Yoast, I thought they were talking about toast, and someone had made a spelling error, because I would never have associated with Yoast to being anything to do with SEO. But there we are. We live and learn. Right?
A bit like humanity.
Exactly. Yes.
It's misspelled. Yes.
Misspelled. There you go.
Another tool that is well known in the industry is Ahrefs. You can Google it, and that also gives you a lot of really good information that can help you optimize your website for search engines. But as I said, we'll touch on that more next time. The next one, I love this tool. It's called Wayback Machine, and it's an internet archive tool. And so what these guys started doing back in the dark ages when I started, they started indexing the web. And so if you want to see what your website looked like 15 years ago, you can actually go to the Wayback Machine, type in your website address, and it will show you what your website looked like then, or what your competitor's website looks like then. Sometimes it's actually really helpful if you have, say, deleted a page on your website, and this had happened with a client of mine. he had deleted a web page, and he's like, oh my God, I don't have it written anywhere. And I'm like, well, let's go. You had it there like 2 months ago or 3 months ago. Let's go and have a look. And we were able to, like, whilst I can't resurrect it from that, but I can see exactly the content, the images that were there, and I was able to rebuild it for him. So
that's a good one.
So that was really good. Wayback Machine.
Yeah.
It reminds me of what was that movie?
Back to the
Michael
Future.
J. Fox. Yes, that kind of made me think of that. Okay, the next one is reverse image search. And so what this allows you to do is, say, for example, we've been talking about putting out really good images and, having original images. And what reverse image search allows you to do is find if somebody else has been using your images. So, and there's one called TinEye, T-I-N-I, as in I, E-Y-E. So you can Google that and you upload your image, and then it will show you all the websites that it has been shown on.
Oh.
I watched this show called Catfish. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's about people meeting online and being catfished, meaning like the person that they are talking to is not actually the real person.
Oh.
And they have used somebody else's photos. It's a fascinating show, but and I'm getting a little bit off the topic, but they use software like that. It's like, I could say I've been talking to this person who's been like, fantastic looking, model-like and stuff like that. But, they don't want to chat with me via Zoom or whatever. And so these guys then, they go and do a reverse image search, and they find that this person, it's actually, he's a movie star or he's an athlete or something like that. And people have been using his images without actually knowing. So it's just
there you go.
off on the side.
What I'm missing out on. I'm just not in the right places at the right time, Ivana, with my entertainment, obviously.
I know. A bit of a guilty pleasure of mine is to watch these shows. But anyway, so just getting back to the topic. So TinEye and also Google Images allow you to search if somebody else is using your images. The other thing to be careful, because image banks also use this software and other software to find if you are using images that you have not paid for. That's how they find it. They obviously have very sophisticated software, and it will find if you used an image from Google Images, for example, that you had downloaded 3 years, 5 years ago, they'll be able to find it. And with the help of Wayback Machine, they can say you've been using that image for 10 years and hit you up for a lot of money. So reverse image search. And the other thing is, you can, like, say, for example, you even go to a free image bank and you find an image that you think is really good for your website. You can actually upload it and see where else on the internet it's being used. Yeah. So if there's 100,000 other people using it, you might not want to use that particular image because then it makes you look like everybody else. So those are really good tools. TinEye and Google Images, you can look it up.
Is there an app that does that for text? To see if anyone's copying
that's
your
actually the
text?
next one.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. So that was the next one.
Okay,
You're
sorry.
reading my mind now.
Sorry, I'll be quiet.
So duplicate content checker, absolutely. And so this is used very much by teachers who, when students submit these great papers and everything like that, and they find out that they've actually copied it off a particular website.
Yeah.
But for business, you can also find out if somebody's copying your text. And the thing with that is, if you have copied somebody else's text, Google is smart enough now, and they don't like duplicate content. They can tell if you've copied somebody else's text, use it on your website, because Google knows that the original text was placed on a particular website on a particular date. Now, if a year or 2 years later you come along and you copy their text, even if you change it a little bit, they're smart enough to know. And if it's like 70% plagiarized or whatever, I'm not sure what the algorithms are these days, but if they find that most of your website, most of the content on your website is plagiarized, Google's going to drop you out of their ranking. So, and so you can find out whether, or the other way you can use it is if you had a copyright, if you have paid a copywriter and they have copied the text from somebody else. So you can check, like, where did that content come from? And you can find out if somebody else is copying your content. I've actually had, I can't tell you, I used to write a lot of articles, and I can't tell you how many people have copied and plagiarized and just totally trashed my articles. And somebody said, well, why don't you chase them and sue them and things like that? And I thought, well, I'd be doing nothing but that, and ultimately it doesn't get you anywhere. The way I look at it is, if somebody needs to copy my work, they're not going to get very far in business. So I usually just let it go. But if you are interested to see if any information that's landed in your lap, if it's been copied from somewhere else, then there's one called Copyscape and Dupli checker. Or just type in duplicate content checkers and it'll come up with the software. So those are really useful.
I used to have the problem at school, Ivana. I used to, in my English class, I used to submit Shakespeare's writing as part of my own essays. And my English teacher wasn't too impressed, although my English teacher was a bit of a smarty pants, because she used to get me up in the front of the class and to make me read out my essays to the class. And if anyone's tried to read Shakespeare out aloud in front of 30 school kids, it's quite a difficult task when you're 10 years old. And that was the end of my English journey.
Well, lucky you and I were at school before the internet, right?
Yeah, I had to copy it longhand out of a book. Yeah, exactly.
At least you should have got a bit of credit for that.
No, we won't talk about my English teacher. Carry on.
But Shakespeare, of all things, seriously?
Yeah, I picked the wrong one, right?
Oh, that's funny.
Okay.
All right, so the next one is appointment booking, and this is great for coaches, consultants, service providers, podcasters, yeah, workshop booking. So any kind of appointment, any workshop. There's free tools online that you can use. One is called Calendly. Another one is called Bookly. The one that I use on my website is called VCITA, VCITA. And it's brilliant. The software, once you've set it up, I can set up free consults with clients. I can also set up paid training. And the software handles all of it. It handles everything from the person actually booking, regardless of where they are in the world. So it will show me what time they've booked in my time zone, and it shows it to them in their time zone. And it is so clever, even with daylight saving, it's right on top of it. Like, I've just been blown away by it. It will remind you, as well as the person who's booked, ahead of time if you've set it up that way, and it can be done by email or by text or by both. The software that I also use allows you to pay as part of the booking process. So I have people book with me to do like WordPress training, for example. So they'll book a particular time, and as they're going through the process, they pay for it, I get notified, and it gets automatically put into my diary so that I don't forget, and it's all automated. So that's what I really love about it.
Yeah, fantastic.
And to be honest, it saved me so many headaches. And you can set how far in advance you will accept booking. So mine is set up, I think, on 24 hours. So somebody can't book me like for this afternoon, for example. I have to have at least 24-hour notice. So the one that I use, it's a paid software, but the advantage of that is that it gives me so much functionality, saves me so much time. It also, when I've got it on my website, it's built in as kind of a pop-up thing, and it's very interactive. So and it's just saved me so many headaches. And so these days, more people will book me rather than just calling me directly, because that way we both know when we're going to be there, we're going to be present, and I find that it's a much better experience if you, like, I don't know about you, but like, say if I'm working and somebody calls me, it's hard to kind of switch from what you were doing to talking to the person. Whereas if I know that I'm going to be talking to them, it's all scheduled in, I'm 100% there and I'm focused. And I have found that it's increased the amount of people that actually contact me as well. So saves a lot of time, and I would highly recommend that.
So for people listening in today, you've mentioned a couple of free services there, but the one that you use is paid for. How much are people looking to pay for those kinds of subscriptions to a service like that?
So the one that I've got with all the bells and whistles, I think it's something like $280 per year.
Okay.
So very reasonable, very reasonable.
Okay.
Our exchange rate is not great at the moment, so it's a little bit more in Australia. Yeah. But when you think about it, I mean, if you were paying somebody else, if you were paying an assistant to do all your bookings, you're going to be paying them a lot more money. So
exactly,
it's fantastic. I love that software. And so the final one that I've got is a headline analyzer. And this can be for articles that you write, for blog posts that you write, for emails that you write. And this software allows you to enter, like, let's say you come up with an idea for a blog or a guest blog post, and you put it in, and it actually gives you a score of how likely it is to convert from 0 to 100. And so you then, just by making simple tweaks to your headline, it can actually make it convert a lot more. And they will suggest, it will tell you sort of where you might be going wrong. So let's say you get 54%, it will tell you the reason you're getting 54% is because you're not using numbers, you're using common words, and try doing this. So these tools will actually tell you where you can improve it and how you can improve it. And I love it. So there's one called Co-Schedule Headline Analyzer, and the other one is called Share Through Headline Analyzer. Okay. And so, yeah, I've used those a lot in everything that I write, especially for my headings and yeah. And it can be even for email subject lines and everything else that you write.
Yeah, terrific. So that's a great app, yeah.
Yeah, as I said, there's an app for everything. Any interesting apps that you've come across that you love using, Mark?
Yeah, I've got one that I use for Oscar, my dog, in terms of his diet. So I can put in there and it tells me for his breed, at his age and his weight, if this is the right type of food that he should be having. So he's just started a new diet where he's on mainly organic chicken and French cheese, and he loves camembert, and he's putting on a bit of weight, which is great. And he's also happy too that I'm using this app, because he's getting a little bit of diversification in his diet. So yeah, I recommend. I'm not going to say the name of it actually, because I'm in discussions with them at the moment over something else.
Oh, okay, fair enough. But yeah, see, there's another, like, who would have thought somebody would have come up with dog food app? So there's an app or software for everything.
There is, yeah, indeed. Now, do we have a frequently asked question today?
We do. And so the question is, do I own my own website? Oh, that's a loaded question. Okay, so the answer is not really. And the reason I say that, so you will always own what you put into the website. So any images and any content, that always stays yours. But as far as the app, so let's say you're using WordPress, or you're using Shopify, or using Wix, you can't actually own those platforms. It's owned by the developers and the creators. So you can't own that part of your website. You can't also you don't own your domain name, which is, I think a lot of people are shocked by that. you are just paying the registrar licensing fee for a year or 2 years or however long. But you don't actually own the domain name. You are just a registered, well, owner, but really licensee. So, and the other thing is, so you don't own the content management system, as I said, WordPress or any of those platforms, or tools that are used on those platforms, such as the plugins that you might use. So you don't own that either. So now, one thing I think where people often ask me when I build their website is, will I own my own website? And I usually give them the answer that I just gave you. But the reality is, what they're really asking is, once I pay you, can I manage my own website? And so the answer is absolutely. Once a developer builds your website, and check like your service agreement or whatever to make sure that you can transfer the website somewhere else. If you're working with a developer who's created your website using Wix, Shopify, Squarespace, you can't transfer it anywhere else anyway. But if you've got a WordPress website, you should be absolutely able, and this, let me just say, a WordPress.org website, not a WordPress.com. WordPress. So if you've worked with a developer and they have created your website and they've hosted it either with their own company or, with somebody like SiteGround or something like that, check to make sure that you can actually take the website and transfer it somewhere else, that there isn't something in your contract which prevents you from happening. But I think in most cases, people just want to know, once I've paid you, can I do with it whatever I want?
After you've pressed that purple button and launched it, right, Ivana? Yes. It's all go then, right? All systems go.
Yeah. So that's the answer to the question, do I own my website? Only part of it, only what you've put in.
Okay, brilliant.
So the homework for today is to check out some of the tools that we discussed. And, if there's tasks that you've been wanting to do, that maybe you've been doing manually, just have a look if there's tools or apps that you can use on your phone which will allow you to do that.
Great advice. And I just I hear a rush of feet and arms and legs running to change their passwords now as we get off the show, Ivana, because you've put the chills up everybody that they should be having a better password to ensure their security, which you should do as well. So go and change
absolutely.
Your
it's one
everyone.
Of the key things, one of the things that we see. Unfortunately, during COVID-19, there's been an increase of 37% in website hackings, and part of the problem is insecure passwords.
Yeah, so I bet. Okay, brilliant. So there you go, folks. There's a whole lot of wonderful apps and tools that you can use by way of the Website Design Guru. And I'm going to now brief you all because like all good things in the world, even like the Trump presidency is coming to an end, so is this series. And we're going to come back for one last hurrah with Ivana next week on the show. So make sure you join Ivana and I for our swan song as we talk about next week. What are we going to go out with? SEO.
We're going to be talking about search engine optimization.
Yeah, you've saved the best to last. You've saved the best to last.
Indeed.
So there you go, folks. Bring your notepads, pens and pencils and be ready for next week because we're going to do the last dance and we're going to be talking about SEO. Ivana, it's been brilliant having you here again. Thank you for your amazing time and talent, and we'll see you next week.
My pleasure, Mark. See you soon. Bye.
There we are, everyone. Ivana Katz again with me, talking about website design and apps and tools that you can use to make sure that your website is world class. If you've been following this web design series here on humanity.com, go back to episode 1 and check it all out. We've got one more episode coming in this series, and then there's no excuse for you not having a fantastic website. You might be building your first website, or you might be refurbishing an existing website. There's something for everybody in the series. So go back and check all the episodes out. They're all clearly labeled. Ivana has shared a lot of free downloadables for you as well. Her generosity never ends. And there's no excuse really for you having a great website. So thanks very much for tuning in today. It's been a pleasure having you with us. And thank you very much for supporting the channel. I'll be back again next week with Ivana. Until then, my name's Mark Philpott. Stay safe, stay happy, and stay focused on your business, everyone. Bye for now.